What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Justice's fourth album, Hyperdrama. The French EDM duo is back, their first album in 8 years. It's been a long time coming. New music from Justice is, of course, a landmark moment when it comes to new EDM music. Looking back, of course, on their debut album, Cross, from 2007, one of those iconic, signature landmark music drops. Of course, the song Dance, Grammy nominated alongside that album. That's an album that has really stood the test of time and really put Justice on the map, I think, for a really unique kind of blend of electronic music. It's both heavy and smooth at the same time. It's just really ear catching, but stands out just for being unlike a lot of other music you hear. And that's, I think, the case now with Hyperdrama just as much it was so obviously the case back in '07. Justice have been around lately, of course, performing at Coachella recently, the light show, unsurprisingly, getting a lot of plaudits. Of course, their song from Cross, Genesis, featured in John Wick Chapter 4 last year in a really pivotal scene. It was a pretty epic scene and epic needle drop for sure. The Weeknd has teased an upcoming collaboration with Justice earlier this year. Honestly, a good cosign, of course, because we know how strong a taste The Weeknd has in DJs. You know, looking at his past work with Swedish House Mafia, Gesaffelstein, and Daft Punk, of course. And Daft Punk, they get a lot of comparisons, right? It's very obvious. Justice is a French duo, Daft Punk is a French duo. They actually have connections and on the label and management side of things, but they're really doing, I think, different sort of things. And if you were to compare this to a Daft Punk album, it's not exactly a clean comparison, but this Hyperdrama comes across as like the random access memories of the Justice catalog, if you will. We can get into that in a little bit. Overall, I really enjoyed Justice's fourth album, Hyperdrama. I think it's certainly a return to form and their best album since their landmark debut, Cross, from 2007. Having been 8 years since the last Justice album, I think the fact that they've returned is just very exciting, but also how they've returned with this type of music. This is a curated and smooth album. It's definitely a bit sanded down edges wise compared to how in your face Cross is, but it's very funky bass, it's very dancey, and still has a bit of bite, which I think is what kind of sets it apart from those middle two Justice albums, and why I think this is clearly their second best album. One of the lead singles, Generator, in particular, should really harken back to Justice's songs of the past. I think that song with those synths, that pulsing techno, strings dropping in halfway through, gives me cyberpunk vibes. I think that song's incredible, honestly. You have a lot of high-profile guests on here. Kevin Parker's vocals from Tame Impala, Miguel, Thundercat. All the vocals are kind of similar in the sense that they're all kind of like falsetto singing. It's all very complimentary to the music, but I think the justice of it all is obviously the main attraction here. Overall, I'd say Hyperdrama is a bit more anthemic and less mashup heavy, less genre flippy than some of their past work. The French duo have cited the Dutch techno subgenre gabber as an influence on this album. I can't really speak to that honestly. Leave a comment if you could hear that influence. To me, though, it still felt like a Justice record in terms of, I think, just the combination of the bass with the bite, the use of synths, the heavy kick drums. Like the bass here has just I think a distinct flair to it in a really fun way. So I'm really happy this album's here. I'm gonna try and see Justice live when they go on tour later this summer. That's not an especially long tour, so I feel like it's gonna be like a big deal to go. So I'm going to try and go. They're coming to Boston, so I'll do my best to check that out. Of course, floor seats are already sold out, so we're going to pay. But yeah, let's kind of go through the track list here. Song 1, Never Ender, featuring Kevin Parker of Tame Impala on the vocals, very groovy. I think the I'll Remember chorus from Kevin, it's pretty fun. It's pretty catchy. I mentioned track 2, Generator. This is the highlight for me. And man, I mean, it's so fun. I think this brand of techno, like this use of synths, it's hard, it's heavy, similar to some of their harder stuff in the past, but it really fits this album. But to me, it's a clear highlight. I like track 3, After Image. The drums very similar to how they had been on the first two songs, but feels like kind of like a different BPM. And then about 90 minutes in, there's like horn drop in or some kind of horn kit or something, some plug-in. I'm not really sure. Sounded cool. Track 4, we have one of the other singles, One Night, All Night, also featuring Tame Impala. Very thumping bass on here. Then about 2.5 minutes in, another fun switch up where the keys come in. Really like this one. Dear Allen, this one stands out as kind of being kind of out there on the track list. There's a lot going on with this one. I think that song's another clear highlight. Moonlight Rendezvous stood out for me because that's when we started to slow down for the first time. Saxophone making its presence known to fun effect. The next song, Explorer, also on the slower side. Interestingly, like listening to mix on a song like this, it almost sounded like the song was like skipping or glitching, as if it was like vinyl scratch, like vinyl skip or something, which obviously is not actually what it is, but it was giving me that vibe of like a glitch, like it wasn't loading, buffering properly. Kind of an interesting feeling on the song to be kind of rough in that regard. Saturine features Miguel. I mean, this is the first, big look for Miguel, I have to say, since of course his song Sure Thing blew up on TikTok over 10 years after it came out. Like, can't really think. Has Miguel done anything since that TikTok moment last year? I don't think so. So this is a pretty big feature for him, and I mean, he's not doing anything super dissimilar to what Kevin Parker has done earlier on the album. It's similar singing, but this song almost has a bit more of like an R&B lean to it. So I guess you could say it's almost a hair out of place on the album genre-wise, but it sounded good to me. And then the last song, The End, features, I think, a really awesome kick drum. The kick drum's great throughout the album, but like it's very noticeable on the end. And then you have Thundercat with this silky smooth singing. Again, not that different from what Miguel and Kevin Parker had done and the others, but sounds good. Honestly, there's not a lot of electronic music releases that excite me when they come out. There's only a handful of DJs and DJ acts that I like really pay attention to as album artists. And I think Justice obviously fits that bill, and Hyperdrama I think definitely delivers. To me, as I said, I think it's their second best album. And when you haven't had an album from a group in 8 years, I mean, in a sense, you take what you can get, but also the fact that it's better than the last two albums is very exciting to me. So hopefully we don't have to wait 8 more years next time. It's clear that Justice still have a lot to offer. Gasper Ogg, Xavier DeRosny, very unique duo, obviously. So I'm a fan of Justice. I'm a fan of Hyperdrama. Let me know, what did you think of the album? What was your favorite song? What was your favorite moment? Do you agree it's their second best album? Let me know. And for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.